Hi, I'm Jenny Rushmore of Cashmerette, and today I'm going to show you how to sew a slip stitch by hand. So the vast majority of clothes can be sewn using a sewing machine, and indeed in almost all Cashmerette patterns, 99.99% of the time you're using a sewing machine. But occasionally you need to do some hand stitching, and slip stitch is, I would say, the most useful stitch to learn how to do. It can help you with things like doing invisible hemming or invisibly sewing a bias tape down so that it isn't visible on the outside of a garment. So let's get to it. So the first thing you need to do is thread your needle. So there are lots of different ways to do this, but this is the way I do it. So I get my needle, I get the end of the thread and I fold it over. Then I catch that in my fingers and then I almost like push the needle onto the thread rather than the thread through the needle. And then pull it through. Lots of different ways to do it. And then you want a knot at the end of your fabric, at the end of your thread. So here is what I'm going to slip stitch today. So this is like I'm hemming something and it's a double folded hem. So I've done it a small amount and then a large amount. And to look here, I'm going to call this fold here, when it's folded up, the tunnel, because you can see there's like an enclosed tunnel of fabric here. So here is how you slip stitch. So you want to start by taking a stitch in through the tunnel, and what that will do is it will have your knot enclosed inside the seam. So I'm going to pull it up there. So I'm starting, my knot is inside there. Now I'm going to go straight across onto this main fabric, directly across and up, and I am going to take just somewhere between 1 and 3 strands of the fabric. So it's really like a really small nip, okay? So there I think I've taken 1. So it's directly across from where I came out there. And then I'm going to go behind the tunnel, and then I'm going to take a nip from the top of that fold, okay? So basically my needle is at a diagonal and I'm going along. Now how far along is kind of up to you. We tend to do roughly like 1/4 of an inch, but the smaller you do, the neater it will look, the bigger you will do, the less neat. So I'm going to pull my thread through there. And now I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to go straight up. So I'm making these little straight stitches and I'm going to go up to the fabric that is just on the main fabric, the outside fabric, not the tunnel, and taking a little nip, and then along and taking a little nip from the top of that tunnel piece. And that is it. You're going to keep on doing this. You are basically creating a series of very small vertical stitches on the inside, and then there will be a series of very small, almost like dots of thread on the right side where you have taken those 2 or 3 little threads. On the inside, the thread is going to be just hidden behind this fold, and so you can see, even though I'm using bright red thread, you are barely seeing the stitches on the inside. So you can barely see any red there, even though it's fully secure. So this is a great approach for creating hems that are not really visible from the outside. So in my book, Sewing the Curve, this is a great one, particularly for the Elmley sheath dress, which you can make in a very kind of elevated, clean finish way. And you can finish the armholes with this, the armhole bias. You can also finish the hem with this. It takes a little bit longer, obviously, than top stitching, but it gives you a much more high-end approach. Keep on failing to get that one. There we go. And just keep on going along. Once you've finished, you can just take a second, nip in the same place, and go through and make a knot, and then do it one more time through the loop. Okay. Okay, so that is our slip stitch on the inside. I did it in a contrasting thread so that you would be able to see what I was doing, but as you can see, even in the contrasting thread, it's hard to see it. If you use a complementary color thread, then you won't be able to see it at all. And then from the right side, almost invisible. So there are tiny little red dots every 1/4 of an inch along here that you can barely even see on camera. And so effectively it has created an invisible hem. If you'd like to see more videos to help you learn to sew, head over to cashmere.com/learn to sew. And I highly recommend picking up a copy of my book, Sewing the Curve. I wrote this book so that curvy people like me could learn how to make a wardrobe of garments that make you feel so confident and also fit well. I cover everything from setting up your sewing machine to understanding sewing patterns in fabric, all the way to making your first garment. It comes with 6 full-size sewing patterns in sizes 12 to 32 and cup sizes C to H. So if you're thinking about sewing, you're excited about it, but you're uncertain where to begin, I really recommend picking up a copy of Sewing the Curve.